go. A couple of minutes ahead just to make sure that everything is working as usual. No YouTube today. I'm taking it easy on myself, so I'm only going on one platform. And anyway, the amount of people that looked at the back of my head while I was on YouTube was pretty small. So I've laptop number 2 on the go here. Let's see if anyone's watching, and then we can get stuck in. All right, let's see. Let's go full screen. All right, how are we doing? Pamela Neckville, we owe you a big thank you today, so thank you. There's Kathy in Kansas City, Amy in Chicago. I heard it's snowing in Chicago, and I don't know if you can see up here, there, look at that. That's completely and utterly blue sky, because it is like a summer's day in Ireland. Galway is stunning. I did see that it was snowing in Chicago, so my apologies for your third winter. There's always another dip, isn't there? You're not safe till May. Snowy northern Wisconsin, yep. Excuse me. Oh God, my brother Adrian has joined. He's the older of the family. Just literally the oldest. Great accordion player and piano player. Probably the most musically educated of the lot of us. That's not even a probably, that's a definitely. From Liverpool, Lake Tahoe. I don't know where Lake Tahoe is. Is that Wisconsin? We got Ash Lepak says there's no snow in Minnesota. It is the weather is extremely Italian today. There's no doubt about that. It is gorgeous. I got a little bit sunburnt yesterday when I fell asleep. I fell asleep on the deck. Sign of a quiet mind, maybe. I'm not too sure. There's Marcel Lynn from Michigan. Loads of people on today. So I have a packed schedule today. I have loads of people. It's going to be great. So I might dip right in and get going right from the start. So I bought myself a new microphone, so hopefully, there goes Gillian. The prettiest rose in the whole garden. And I have spent quite a bit of time this week trying to make sure that all of the different bits and pieces are working, and I nearly had a mental breakdown last night when I tried to get a Zoom call working on OBS and doing the split screen, and it ended up throwing all of my settings completely out of whack, and there was lots of expletives and very high stress levels, but I got it all sorted. I spent most of today. Matthew has been very patient today, because a lot of it was like, what? No, I'm really busy. So, all right, let's get the first call going and see how we get on here. Hello, Niamh. How you doing?
Hello.
Right. Okay, I can hear you and I can see you fine. I need to get you on my screen, so you just bear with me for one moment, and there you go. All right. Great to see you.
Hello.
So, for We Banjo 3 people, this is my friend Niamh Regan. Niamh is from Galway, and I won't ask you what age you are now, but I know you since you're 8, 9?
Baby, I'm 25.
Are you? So yeah, quite a long time. And I think it's worth telling the story, even though I don't know whether you like the story or not. But when I used to teach a group for competition probably 20 years ago, or close to 20 years ago, and this is when Martin and David were both in this group of 20 musicians, and we used to put 10 minutes of music together, harmonies and all this kind of stuff. And your older brother Joseph was playing fiddle. And for some reason that I don't fully remember, you ended up sitting down at the back of the classroom on a table where your legs didn't reach the ground, and playing the tin whistle along with everybody else that was playing. And I realized that you were like way better than half the other musicians that were way older than you. And we transitioned you into the older group pretty quickly after that. But you've since gone on to become one of my favourite singers. I hope you don't mind me saying that. And a phenomenal guitar player and a teacher. Am I right?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah.
One more year to go. I took a scenic route.
Yeah. And I just realised literally as we were chatting before this that you got married recently.
I did, yeah. It feels like old news. We're a year together now, married. So I'm so nervous and I don't know. But
okay.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of thousand people watching. It's fine.
Ago since group kill and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So you're living in rural Galway, am I right?
Yes, East Galway. I'm still in the same place, a little bit outside Lochray where or Kilnadima was the band, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I got to see you in concert in Galway about 18 months ago. Was it the 8th of December?
December. What in Galway? Was it the Black Gate?
The Black Gate, yeah. Because I went with my friend Septa, and it turned out that it was her birthday, which I'd completely forgotten about. And I just said, "Do you want to go to a concert?" And then she was like, she turned up and she was all dressed up, and I was like, she goes, "It's my birthday." And I was like, "Well, that's perfect."
That worked out.
It did, and it was a beautiful concert. It wasn't long after your mom had passed away, I believe.
Yeah, it was that people for the Galway Hospital.
Yeah. I'm getting bits and pieces of you, but I'm not getting everything, Niamh.
Oh, the sound, is it?
There you go. That's better.
Right, I'm probably too far away from the actual one, but yeah, that feels like a long time ago. So
yeah.
Do you think I could sing a song or something, Enda, and I'd settle my nerves?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Let's do that straight. What are you going to sing?
I might sing the Freeze Frame song. I think that was the first song that we actually spoke about with Matthew that I wrote.
Yeah.
So
wonderful. Take it away.
And then I'll calm down and become a person. This whole virtual world is very off-putting sometimes.
I know. Yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to.
I was out a walk when I heard the man. There was something in the air, and though I knew it wasn't right, there was something so exciting. My broken heart, which is right. Did I call my feet if I could free? Every moment if I could freeze a frame. Every moment with you, 'cause I was lucky enough to have you. And I was lucky enough to have known you. I was lucky enough. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Alright. Can you hear me all right?
I think
a bit dumpy.
It's coming and going.
I'll make it short. A taster. I'm sorry if the connection is a little bit. Is it?
East Galway is trying its best to undo us.
Yeah, I was on Zoom all day today and it was working fine. Coming and going with the video, and I don't know what happened. I did a test call before you get a call. It just wasn't working.
Yeah. Listen, the audio is coming and going. I shared that Freeze Frame song quite recently, and people loved it. And we have a We Banjo crew page, and this it's stunning. That version that you did with the contempo string, I just don't understand why there's not a million views on it. It's beautiful.
That was Matthew Bell did the string arrangement with that. Everything he touches musically turns to
Yeah.
Gold Dust, I think.
Yeah, he's on our. He played on our live album, the one we recorded in Galway. He's pretty spectacular musician. Yeah. Look at Niamh. I'm going to leave you to go back to I don't know, studying or hopefully a bit of sunshine.
Bit of sunshine, I think. Yeah. Forgive me about the internet, and thanks for having me.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's lovely to see you. I hope people go to your page and have a listen to your music because it's fabulous. And love your voice. Hope to see you soon.
Okay, take care.
Thanks, Niamh.
Bye.
And there we go. So that's Niamh Regan. Sorry about the connection there. That's rural Galway at its finest, unfortunately. But Niamh is a beautiful singer. Reminded me a lot of Sandy Denny from Fairport Convention. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of old folkies that are listening and are like, yeah, that's real Sandy Denny voice. And I had no idea that Niamh sang. I knew she was a wonderful tin whistle and flute player. And then suddenly I heard her online singing and I was blown away. Just really, really wonderful. So make sure to check her out. If you're on the We Banjo 3 crew page, I shared that video of that song recently, and we'll put a link to it on the comments here after we finish up as well. She's just she's a stunning singer. So loads of people online. Enda, where can we find her? Niamh Regan on Facebook will get you, and there's a link to her page in the description of this live video as well, so you should be able to find her on that. But she's absolutely stunning singer. When I heard her last 18 months ago, I remember sitting in the audience and for the first time wishing that I had like 5 million followers on Instagram that I could say, here, go and listen to this singer, and then just bring her to Merlefest in North Carolina, because I know that if she was to get on a stage at a festival like that she'd just blow people away. But there you go. We live and wish. Okay, I'm going to try and get somebody else up on Skype now, if you bear with me. So this is Jennie. All right. Like I said, it's... I can do the dance again. Hello. Oh, Jennie. Oh, we got a bit of feedback going on there. Am I very loud on your end?
No, you're perfect here.
All right, I need to take something down here. Just bear with me now. We do a transition, and there we go. All right. So I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm working on keeping the levels good. So this is my friend Jennie Morton. Jennie is from England, lives in California, is an osteopath, and now has a degree in psychology. Now, the first time I met you, Jennie, was at a medical conference / musicians wellness conference in Galway about 10 years ago.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, it was definitely, because there was only 3 in We Banjo 3 at the time, so that's definitely 10 years ago. Yeah, and you were I remember very, very dynamic, huge energy, and you do a lot with people's physical movement to help them prevent injury or recover from injury. Dancers, musicians, singers, and so forth. Is that a fair description?
That's a fair description. Yeah. People often don't understand that musicians get a lot of injury. You know, something like 84% have injuries during their career. So, I help look at their instrument and make sure that the interfacing with the instrument in a way is kind of safe, and mainly to free up their artistry so they can get away from the mechanics of it and just be so that's what I enjoy doing.
Wonderful. And do you find that there's an awful lot more work for what you do in California versus the UK?
The need's the same in terms of the musicians wanting to come. What I found slightly different over here is I do a lot for education, and in England I was kind of banging on the door of music schools saying, you need to let us in to help, educate young students in how to not get injured, because although I take care of a lot of people who are injured, I also want to make sure that people don't get injured in the first place. And there's, some really basic things that could be helpful with that. And I just found that there was a lot of resistance, a lot of doors being closed. We don't have the budget. We don't have, whereas over here in the States, there was kind of more of a need for that. And as soon as I moved here to Los Angeles, I had schools asking me to come in rather than me going and saying, you need to have this. There's something in the States, there's an accrediting body for all the college level, university level music programs. And I'm on the board of the Performing Arts Medicine Association here, and we work with them to create healthy practice guidelines about what should be taught to musicians. And that's now a mandatory part of the accreditation process. So those schools don't get their accreditation unless they provide this information. So there's kind of more of an incentive here, which is great.
Okay, so I mean, I grew up obviously playing traditional Irish music. There was zero emphasis on anything to do with any kind of postural positioning and we played so much in pubs in cramped conditions and whatever way you could squeeze a seat in. Why do you think that such a high percentage of musicians get injuries? Is it all physical?
It's not all physical. I mean, there's a lot of psychological pressures, and know that the mind works with stressed, anxious. It manifests into the body in terms of inflammation, which is then going to increase your risk of physical injury. So there's this big interplay. If a musician gets an injury, then of course it's going to stress them out because I can't earn my living, or you start to get reputation. Oh, I heard that person's got an injury, I'm not going to book this gig. There's all that kind of sort of a code of silence around injury in musicians. So there tends to be a lot of people ignoring symptoms until they fruit so loud that they're in trouble. We call musicians the athletes of the small muscles, right? Because a lot of people say, well, I'm not like out running a marathon, why would I get injured? But the way they're using muscles, they're using small muscles, which are actually not designed. You think of a runner, well, those muscles were designed to run, even though somebody might be taking that to extremes. Musicians, they're using muscles that really weren't designed to do what they're trying to use them for. So there's a lot of overload stuff. And it just comes down to some basic ergonomics about how to safely interact with the instrument and find a more symbiotic relationship. So that's kind of, if I'm treating a musician, they bring their instrument with them so they can look at that where that's feasible. Of course, bigger instruments, we have to improvise a bit. But yeah, it's trying to find that symbiotic relationship so that we can make sure that they're putting the load into the bigger muscles in the back, offloading small muscles of the fingers, which is where we see a lot of the injuries. And also just changing their understanding of. I always ask musicians, where does your music come from? When they've got a hand injury, they'll often say, it's not where it comes from. Music's coming from, inside of us, and the hands are just a means to transmit that information through the instrument and out. So we take away the point of attention, say, attention to tension. So when they're paying too much attention to that spot, it can be tense. So we can change, where that music is coming from and feel like they're just channeling the arms. It tends to offload those issues and take them to that place where they can get into the zone where their musicians will know to try and keep the speed you guys have with your hands moving. If you try to do that.
Yeah. I found my own history was I had really bad elbow pain for many, many years, and the way that I solved it initially and ultimately was that I discovered that by trying so hard to be really good and trying to play really fast or trying really, really hard, that I had stopped breathing. And so I'd hold my breath in big gasps, and I was driving all of this tension down into my arms, and I was getting headaches and all sorts of stuff. And eventually when I learned And I had to go away with my banjo and learn how to breathe and play at the same time, which sounds mental because, who needs to learn how to breathe? But when I learned how to do the two at the same time, and it took quite a lot of time, the surprising aspect of that was that my ability to play increased exponentially. And I hadn't even considered that that would be a benefit of having learned how to do really easy belly breaths and play the banjo at the same time. And it took me quite a while to figure it out because I had so much muscle memory which was involved with tensing and clenching, And I teach that as part of anytime I do workshops, and there's always a percentage of people there who just really don't want to hear that. But then there's other guys who are like, wow, this has transformed my ability to play. I never thought that if I just learned how to breathe, I could do triplets that I could never do before.
I teach a course musicians in injury prevention, and one of the first classes I do is on oxygen delivery. What is the fuel that your muscles are running off? If you're doing this, what is the gas that goes into these guys?
Yeah.
If you're not providing the muscles with fuel they need to do the job, but so absence of oxygen, muscles will work. But in the absence of oxygen, they produce more waste product. So you end up with more chemical waste in the muscle, which predisposes injury. So when you put the head of the game and go, well, how do we get oxygen in the body? We need to learn how to breathe correctly. Then you kind of solve the message beforehand. So I always find with musicians to get them to change anything, because like you say, when you're at level pro, it's hard, it's a lot to change the way you're doing something. I have to sell it first of all. Like, okay, this is how stuff works. This is the outcome you'll get. Do you want to play with that? And we've got the motivation to make some changes.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about backline. Anyone that has seen We Banjo 3 this year, they will know that in 2019 we did any CD or T-shirt that we sold, we gave a percentage of the money toward Mental Health America. And this year we wanted to get a little bit more specific with what we were doing, and so we are doing the same, but we're giving the money to Backline Cares. And so you are on the Medical Advisory Council of Backline. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about what Backline does and what your role is with them?
Sure. So Backline is an online resource for musicians. It's mainly focused around mental health. So a lot of musicians struggle with managing mental health challenges, and this is a resource that they can reach out to. And then we have case advisors, case managers who connect with them, have a phone call with them, kind of assess and triage what their needs are, find out where they are. At the moment, it's kind of North America based, but we're big that eventually worldwide. And then we can then connect them with resources in their local community, be that psychotherapy, care, or like that. So that's just literally launched October, and we were having plans to have safe basic festivals, events where musicians backstage can have a room that they can go and have a counselling session with, do yoga, meditation practice. Being on tour is pretty tough for a lot of musicians, being away from home, and so we're trying to provide kind of resources on the road for them. With resources for their website, sort of it's like nutrition on tour, how to prepare yourself for going on tour. So sort of practical things they can do. And then obviously currently with the virus going on, a musician lost their work, losing livelihood, it's a difficult time. So Backline are currently providing online support groups. So there's one that happens twice a week. There's also online yoga and meditation class, and this is all free. So all of this is free access for musicians. So I'm on the clinical advisory board. I'm helping to clinical care side of it, but it's much bigger than that.
Fantastic. Okay, Jennie, thank you so much. I mean, there's loads of comments there coming up. I'm trying to keep on top of everything because there's so many. People are finding it absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's a huge new concept for so many people. The breathing and the physical aspect of playing music, that it just doesn't even it's not considered by so many people until they get injured. And then the work that Backline doing, I mean, it was new to us when we came across it in October. It's incredible that resources like that are being made available free for people in the industry. I mean, you know, we tour a lot. We know that it can be a rigorous and difficult time. There's no doubt about that. I think it's a brilliantly positive, and of course it brings the whole conversation about mental health into a very positive light. And when you associate it with touring bands and touring musicians, it also makes it accessible and something that people are happy to talk about, because like if rock and roll stars are going for counselling, then there's hope for the rest of us, right?
Absolutely, and music is such a fundamental part of supporting mental health. I mean, most people who struggle with mental health, they turn to music to help lift them out of it. So we need to take care of the industry that's providing that in the same way. So it's this great circularity, and like you say, so many artists now are putting this on the table and checking in, even in their concerts, saying, how are you guys doing? How are you feeling today? Who's feeling stressed? Who's feeling anxious? So I think it's one of the reciprocity that's starting to happen between the music industry, and the music is the medicine as well. So you know, it's just a joy for me to be part of that whole kind of circularity.
Wonderful. Jennie, thank you so much. I hope the sun is shining in California. It's beautiful here in Galway. Always.
Well, actually, we've had a lot of rain recently, so that's been good. We need it here, but the sun's out today.
Great. Well, hopefully the next time we make it to California, we can meet up again.
Yes. Yeah. I'm back.
Thank you so much.
All right. Great to speak to you.
Thanks, Jennie. Wonderful. So you can find out more in the notes at the top of the Facebook feed. There's a link to Jennie's website if anyone is interested in finding out more about the work that she does. And there's also a link to Backline Music, which is backline.cares. And there's a huge amount of information there, and they're a really great resource. So I'm just going to check in here again and see. It's loads of people watching, lots of messages. It's hard to get on top of everybody. Can breathing help with carpal tunnel? I believe it absolutely. Tai Chi is ancient, helped me recover from a broken arm. I've done an awful lot of reading into it over the years, and you know, no matter what you would be recovering from, to do a whole breathing technique as part of the recovery has been shown to expedite the recovery process regardless of what it is that you have. So it's great. Thanks everyone for the comments. Can't get to everything, there's so many, but Jennie is wonderful and she's got incredible energy, and I've always enjoyed meeting her. So I'm going to go to Skype again, and hopefully we have the amazing Sharon Shannon online. So just give me a minute to get this up and running. All the technical jiggery pokery as always. All right, let's see. I'm excited for this one. Forgot to do the dance.
Hey,
hello,
how's it going?
Sharon, how are you?
How are you? How are things?
I'm great. The mad thing is we're talking on the internet and we live about a mile away from each other.
How's it going?
Good.
Great to see you.
Now I'm just going to get you on screen. There you are, looking mighty.
Oh, are we actually live on your Facebook?
Yeah. There's about 4 million people watching. It's great.
Hello, everybody. Hello, 4 million people.
not quite 4 million, but now that you're on it, there'll probably be way more people watching. Now, look, it's great to have you. You barely need an introduction, but for what it's worth, a lot of our audience would be American based, and of course,
huge audience in America that wouldn't have a clue who I am. So.
I doubt that very much, but. I mean, you are one of the most celebrated Irish musicians of the last 50 years, and you're not even 50, I'm sure. Without a doubt. And your career is incredibly eclectic and illustrious. And people would know you, I mean, probably know you best for Galway Girl. Because you get referred to as Galway Girl all the time, and you're from Clare.
Yeah, that's right.
Does that bother you at all?
Not at all. I don't mind. Well, I'm very proud of my roots. I'm from County Clare, but I suppose I've spent longer in Galway, more of my life in Galway now at this stage, because I moved to Galway when I was only about 18 or 19 or something like that.
Yeah. So you're well adopted now by Galway people, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I was.
City. Are you from Galway City or where in Galway?
No, I'm from Corofin, so northeast Galway. But I'm no more than yourself. I'm in the city for 20-something years.
Yeah, I'm from Corofin, County Clare.
That's right. But you got 2 R's in your Corofin because you're special.
Oh God, Nasher, show me Nasher, come here.
Do.
This is one of my loads of dogs.
So
There's 7 dogs in here. So.
And how many cats?
10 cats, Enda. All rescue animals.
Yeah. You do a huge amount of work with rescue animals, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because I've been in your house, and myself and Dave, we went down to visit you when we were going to record the fox, the video of the fox.
That's right. Yeah.
And there was cats coming out of cupboards and on top of cupboards and every side. It was amazing. And
cardboard boxes. We love the cardboard boxes.
Yeah, dogs to beat the band. Yeah. So what have you been up to recently? Kind of prior to everybody staying at home forever, but.
Yeah, we were in Canada in the couple of weeks before today, and we were due to go from Toronto to San Francisco for some gigs in California, and instead we flew home from Toronto to Dublin a couple of days before Paddy's Day. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff. Well, first of all, I did loads of painting around the house here, loads of different new colours, and I managed to get a load of stuff like DIY stuff in the hardware shops before everything closed down, before the lock up. So I have loads of stuff lined up, loads of things done, but loads more lined up. Apart from that, I'm doing loads of music as well and writing loads of tunes, and myself and Donal only have been in touch with each other over and back from each other. And
you did a mad thing last week.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was challenged online by rugby player Robbie Henshaw. It was a challenge in aid of a charity called On Cosan, and it was to learn a new skill in 5 days, and then go on Facebook or go on whatever social media and display your new skill. So Gregorio, my good friend Gregorio, who lives here, he minds the animals for me while I'm away. He actually plays Irish music on the fiddle and whistle, but he also plays heavy metal guitar. So he has a very fancy guitar upstairs in his room. So I said, oh my God, I would love to be able to play a tune on the guitar, heavy metal style, with all the distortion and everything. So I just went hell for leather at it for about 5 days, like really, really practicing. Like, I don't know how many hours I did every day, and I'm only tune into. I must have played that tune 100 times every day. So,
I bet you, yeah. It was brilliant. I loved. People can check it out on your Facebook page. But you went full leather and a headband and the whole lot.
I actually had this jacket on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not leather, by the way. I'm vegan.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, I will show you. Actually, I was the headband that I was wearing. I was looking for something with the skull and bones on it, and I happened to have a pair of tights, like footless tights with the skull and bones on them. Look.
I see your gas.
a headband out of a pair of tights is you just go like that.
Wow. You could probably make a face mask out of it now and sell it online.
You could, yeah. So there's my headband. You just tie it around. Okay.
I think that's probably the most Sharon Shannon thing ever. Oh, that's great. Listen, take us back to the very start. I mean, you're playing music no more than anyone in Ireland for years and years and years, and as a kid. But when did it become professional for you? When did you kind of go, oh my God, this could really be a career?
Well, I was playing music all through my teens. I started playing. I was 8 when I started playing my first instrument, which was the tin whistle. All my family, they're all very musical, so we all started very young, and then we moved on to different instruments a few years later. And we were very lucky. My parents were really mad into the music, and they encouraged us, and they danced around the house and everything. And they used to bring us to all the Céilís and everything, and we developed a huge love for music, because it wasn't just practicing and flat competitions or anything like that. We had loads of fun with it as well, because of all the Céilís and getting to meet. We'll go into the Flas as well. We really enjoyed that as well, because you know yourself, you'd have great sessions at the Flas and you make loads of new friends and everything. But as you say, how did I figure out that I was going to play music for a living? I never knew. In school, there was always pressure in school what you wanted to do for a living, and I never knew. And the pressure is massive, as you know, in secondary school. And but I was always doing gigs. I had odd gigs here and there, all during my teens. And then when I was about 16, when I finished the Leaving Cert, I started doing gigs in O'Connor's in Doolin. It's a lovely little. For the people that don't know where Doolin is, it's in North County Clare, and it's a beautiful little village that attracts tourists from all over the world, and it's a magical spot for. It's just there's magic in the air in Doolin, and I absolutely love the place. And I had gigs there 7 nights a week, and I was playing with my good friend Owen O'Neill, the bouzouki player from Dublin, and local banjo player Kevin Griffin, you know Kevin, and Sheedia, a Dublin guitar player. The 4 of us had gigs 7 nights a week in McGann's and in O'Connor's, and it was Owen that encouraged me. He was saying, he said, we all do this for a living, and he said, if we can do it, you can do it. They said, look, there's me.
It just appeared out of nowhere.
How's it going?
Do you know I don't know if you remember Galway Arts Festival when they had the trad lunchtimes in the Atlanta Hotel.
I do.
And then they moved to the Thaibhneach. And yes. I don't remember what year it was, but I remember seeing you and Mary Custy and Owen O'Neill on stage in the Thaibhneach. And Septa Byrne brought us, and we all sat in the front row and blew our minds, because we never thought Irish music could be so cool.
Oh, thank you, Enda.
Yeah,
that was the year. It was. I'd say it was 1988.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And the same year I saw Jerry O'Connor and Vinnie Kilduff, and it was just like.
Yeah. They did the Thaibhneach as well, didn't they?
They did. It was just a musical, spiritual awakening that year. Seeing you and seeing Jerry O'Connor, it inspired me to just drive on. I never thought I would be so inspired by those 2 concerts, and I still remember them. Many years ago. Yeah.
That's lovely to hear. Brilliant. So
that's around the same time as the Waterboys happened for you then, isn't it?
1989 was the year that my very good friend John Dunford, who was now my manager, but I really good friend of mine for many, many years, but he was working with the Waterboys in Spiddle, and the year before that, I moved to Galway in 1988, and then in 1989, I met John, and he asked me. John was involved with Philip King, who used to make music documentaries. Yeah. And another friend of theirs called John Kennedy, aka Jake is his nickname. Those 3 lads did loads together, and they were decided to asked a few traditional musicians, to help some traditional musicians out to make an album. So they approached me and asked me would I like to do one. And so I started to make my own album. I forget the question. Can you remember what you asked me?
The Waterboys was around 1989. Did that all happened around that same time?
Yeah. So I started to record my album in Winkles in Kinvara, and that was and during that time, most of the Waterboys arrived out to Winkles in Kinvara for this 3-day session that we had where we were recording what was going to be my first album, which is called The Winkles Tapes 1989. But loads of great musicians arrived out of the blue, as well as musicians like Donald Lunny and Jerry O'Byrne, who were, I knew they were going to be there, but I didn't know the Waterboys were going to be there, and among various other great musicians. And then during those few days, Mike Scott asked me if I would be interested in doing just a few gigs with the Waterboys. And so that was in May 1989, and my birthday is in the 8th of June, and I remember my 24th birthday, we were rehearsing in the Top Hat in Dunleary in Dublin for with the Waterboys, rehearsing to go and play on the main stage in Glastonbury.
Wow.
Which was the following weekend. We did a few gigs in Ireland, and some gigs. There was a gig down in Clonakilty, I remember, in the parish hall in County Clonakilty, and we did some gigs. We did a gig in the Aran Islands, and 3 gigs in Ireland, like real rural gigs, which were wild and all night partying and everything, and then over to Glastonbury. And Seamus Quigley and Steve Cooney were with us as well. So it was sessions, non-stop sessions all the way on the bus. I remember when we left the hotel, wherever we were staying the night before, big gig in Glastonbury, in the pyramid stage. I remember when we got up in the morning, so from breakfast time, the big long journey all the way to Glastonbury in the bus, we played a session non-stop, and the only time we stopped playing, because we were playing in the dressing room as well, in the what you call them, they're like mobile homes, or prefabs or whatever at the side of the stage, non-stop. The place was moving. There was so much in the walls and everything. The lads were, and we only stopped to do sound check and to do the gig, and then afterwards there was another bonfire and all the rest of the the hothouse flowers and all the other people that were at playing on the same stages joined in on the music.
It must have been an amazing time. Like, to look back and think of the the Waterboys in their heyday, Room to Roam, like, what an incredible album, the Hothouse Flowers. Like, there was so much exciting stuff happening, and no mobile phones to record it all. I'd say there was some crazy stories. Yeah,
and now that you mentioned that album, Room to Roam, there's a song, loads of absolutely beautiful songs on that album, but the one of those songs was recorded a couple of years ago by Ellie Goulding, and she had a huge big worldwide hit with it.
Wow.
Oh God, I can't remember the name of the song, but for any of the listeners out there that don't know that album, maybe you should check it out.
Yeah, I remember it as a kid, and my first ever concert, like proper rock concert, I was about 12 or 13 years old, was the Waterboys in Leisureland in Galway, and I couldn't hear anything for 5 days afterwards. It was great.
Same gig, Enda.
Were you?
I was as well. It was before I started playing with them, but I remember being blown away by them as well, thinking, oh my God, these bands are amazing. They're absolutely amazing. I just love the music. It's real fairy music.
Yeah. So, I mean, moving on from that, one of the huge things that you did was obviously A Woman's Heart, which had worldwide success. Absolutely massive album.
What happened with The Woman's Heart, the success of that took us completely by surprise. When I finished with the Waterboys, I ended up doing my own first album. The album that I was doing in Winkles, the Winkles Tapes 1989, never got finished. it got shelved for 13 years. It actually didn't come out until the end of last year. It's available online, but now it's so I did my first studio album in 1992, and a few months later, the Woman's Heart album came out, and none of us really had to do any work on the Woman's Heart. There was a record company called Dara Record, owned by Mary Black and her husband Joe Riley. So actually, it was owned by Joe Riley and his brother. I forget Joe's brother's name, but it was their company, and they had the idea to put out the Woman's Heart album. It would be just to take 2 tracks of the beauty of our album. So the tracks were already recorded. They took 2 of my tracks, Blackbird, Paradino, 2 tracks from Dolores Payne's her solo album, her first kind of album, Left Day Dawn, and that one. 2 tracks from Mary Black's album, 2 Frances Black's album, 2 tracks from her album. And then the song, The Woman's Heart, was a duet with Mary Black and Peter McAvoy, the who wrote the song.
Yeah.
And then it's the song from Enda as well. So there were 6 women. And, we didn't have, the only work really that any of us had to do on it was Mary and Enda recording the song. It completely took us all by surprise. Even Joe Riley and the record company owners, they thought, cover costs, and so there was hardly any costs even probably. But they thought it would sell maybe 3,000 copies or something. But it went bad, and they say it was one of the biggest selling albums, Irish albums.
Amazing. Yeah, you never know when those things are going to catch fire, do you?
No, you never know. And come here, as for all the things, the Galway girl thing, I actually you were asking me about how would people know of me, and you mentioned the Galway girl as well. The success of the Galway girl took us by surprise as well. That was a part of it. Was a song that was on an album that I did it was an album called the Diamond Mountain Sessions, which had loads of collaborations. I actually wrote down here somewhere. The great John Prine was on it. Hold on, I'll open the window and let the bee out. He's wow. Hopefully he'll go out. He's going to make all the dogs bark. He's a huge bumblebee, that size.
Yeah, we have them in our garden here, and they come into the house every now and then. They're massive. Yeah.
Huge. But anyway, this album of mine with all the guests, it was amazing. We had John Prine, Steve Earle, Desi O'Halloran, Jackson Brown, Carlos Nunes, and John Hoban. And the first single that we record that we released for the album was Galway Girl, which was John Steve Earle singing it, but no one paid a blind bit of notice to it at the time. It was a real slow burner. Yeah. And then we released the single with Desi O'Halloran singing "Say You Love Me." Desi O'Halloran, for anyone that doesn't know, was this amazing elderly man from Inishboffin, just west of County Galway, an island west of County Galway and County Mayo, and he had this real rugged voice, like really sounded like he came down from the mountain, and right. Really, really raw, and that song took off completely, and it was a big hit, and like I said, no one paid any attention to our first single, which was the Galway Girl, but we did maybe about 6 months later, we did a launch of the album in the Roisin Dove, which is a great pub in Galway, a great music pub in Galway, and the DJ Tom Dunn was there, so it was going out live on Tom Dunn's radio program, and we were trying to, do as much from the album as we could, the Diamond Mountain Sessions album, and Mundy, the great singer-songwriter from Dublin. Actually, he's from County Offaly, but he lives in Dublin. But anyway, Mundy, was a guest on it, and he came down, and Tom suggested that it was Tom Dunn's idea that Monday sing Galway Girl. And we played that live on the radio, and Tom Dunn played it every day for months. And then Ray Darcy, another fantastic radio and TV character and DJ here in Ireland, started playing the live track with Monday, Galway Girl, played it every single day for about a year or something. And the rest is history. It just went mad, and it was the most downloaded track in 2006 and 2007.
Yeah.
And Monday was given.
It ended up on a Hollywood movie as well, didn't it? At one stage, P.S. I Love You or one of those, wasn't it?
It was in that, yeah.
I know, but you're like it's the scourge of every pub singer now. It's like, do Galway Girl.
Weddings as well. Everyone wants it at their weddings as well.
Yeah.
And it was amazing that it was in that Hollywood movie. And if you watch the movie, it's played about 5 times. They played there's this fella playing it in a pub, and it's played in the church, and it's played here and there. Yeah. And then it was in a Bulmer's ad.
Okay.
For anyone that doesn't know what it is, it's the same as Magners, it's cider.
Yeah.
It's what we call it in Ireland, Bulmers. And then it was, I wrote it down somewhere, it was played, where did I write it down? Beckett, it doesn't matter, I can't remember where I wrote it down.
I think the bee got it, did he?
Anyway.
There's loads of people sending in messages here saying, yeah, we had it at my wedding. Danced to it at our wedding. Loads, that's gas. What's your favourite gig that you've ever played? Or is that too hard to ask? Is there one that sticks in your mind?
There's a lot of really great ones, but maybe I could talk about like this. We did some amazing. We had some really, really mad. A couple of 2 or 3 or 4. What am I saying? It was more like 10 really wild years playing. I was touring with around Ireland, and we did loads of gigs in around the UK as well. But big bands like with big rock.
Oh. That's our neighbour's dog. He must have got the bumblebee.
Maybe he got stung or something.
No, he makes that noise all the time. He used to have a partner dog that made an even weirder sound. Thanks, Jill.
Really?
Oh, that's gas.
The dog went mad.
Have you? I was
telling you something. I can't remember.
Well, we were talking about the best gig ever, but maybe what's the craziest thing that ever happened on tour?
With the big band was amazing, and having we had loads of fantastic guests like Shane McGowan, like loads of mad stuff. Yeah. Like I would say one of the wildest, funniest times that I can remember is we had. We were recording a live video and album in Dolan's in Limerick, Dolan's warehouse in Limerick. So we had the big band with all these guests, Mundy, O'Rourke, John Kenny, the comedian John Kenny, and John is a great musician and a great singer, and and also another singer from the same part of the country as Mundy, a fella called Rosie. And the Brennan sisters, and so it was 3 days and 3 nights, constant partying and music and sessions. And when we were on stage, it was all recorded live, an album and video. So that was. I think I have a really, really good memory of that. Great. Yeah. So if I can think of anything else, any funny, crazy stories from the road, I was trying to rack my brains, but one of them I can tell you about is we've had a lot of wild times with Shane McGowan, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
One time we arrived down in Killarney to play at the Rose. I don't know. There was some festival on. I don't know. I think it was actually the Rose of Tralee. I'm not sure. It was either the Rose of Tralee or just a gig. Actually, there was some kind of a festival on in Killarney, or it was in Killarney. And you go to the Eagle Hotel in Killarney, and the INEC, the concert hall. And they have a sister hotel beside it called the Brehon. And the 5-star hotel. It's really, really fancy hotel. So arrived in the bit to our sound check, and there was some kind of a really campaign reception happening, and everyone really dressed up in kudos and ball gowns and everything, and it was a scorching hot, beautiful. It was all outdoors, and then the van pulled up, and the side door open. Next thing, Shane McGowan, Joey Cashman, right into the campaign reception, and Joey, Shane McGowan and Joey Cashman fell out the door, went over the side door, the two of them fell out on rolling around the ground. They died out of each other. And everything, and they were cursing and and there were all these posh people going, "Oh my God, what's going on?" I wasn't aware or anything.
Oh, that is crazy.
And I supposed to be doing a sound check, and we were going, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" And there was blood everywhere, and sure. Half an hour later, Joey and Shane were in the dressing room with their arms around each other having a beer. Joey Cashman is Shane's sidekick, his best buddy for the last 35 years or 40 years or something. They're like two peas in a pod.
Will you play us a tune before you go, Sharon?
I will, of course. Yeah? Okay, your time is up, is it?
Time is up. I have one more person I want to chat to before I go and go walk the dog.
So, okay, this is a tune called Frenchy's Reel.
Wonderful.
This is one that would suit you. I'd love to hear We Banjo 3 playing this, because it will suit you.
Wonderful. Amazing. Just briefly before you go, you have a Patreon. You're doing a podcast, is that right?
That's right. Yeah. I nearly forgot to tell you. It's I'm doing a series of podcasts, and it's on Patreon, and people can find it on my own Facebook page.
Yeah.
Or they can find it on www.patreon.com/Sharon Shannon. But that's too much. If it's too much to remember, you can just get it on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
So I have a series of podcasts where I'm just telling stories and having fun, and I'm still working on them. And what we have coming up is where have I written? A live. It's going to be on the Patreon. Friday week, the 24th. It's a live gig that we did in the Barras in Clonakilty, myself and Jim Murray and Jack Maher, and it was filmed in the Barrows and Clonakilty in February, just before the lockdown.
Brilliant.
And these are up for today on my Facebook page.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and I'm going to be doing a live Facebook thing myself this Friday on my own Facebook page at 6:30 p.m. and it's part of Culture Ireland initiative to support Irish Act. During the COVID-19 lockdown, so that's this Friday. So I'll be playing loads of tunes.
Fantastic.
On it.
Yeah, so I have a link to your Facebook pages on our live feed here, so people can go and check that out and check out your Patreon. And you better go and catch that bumblebee.
I better, yeah, and tell people to check out my guitar.
yeah, brilliant.
My guitar 5-day guitar challenge as well. So
I watched
very
it.
proud. The last time I looked, there was there was 130,000 views on it.
Amazing.
So I'm absolutely blown away. I can't believe 130,000 people watch me playing the guitar. And
I believe it well. Sharon, thank you so much. It's been fantastic.
Thanks for having me on, Enda.
All right, we'll see you when we're back out in the real world.
I hope so. Yeah. Okay, and thank you to all the listeners.
Well, very good.
And the watchers. Okay.
Thanks, Sharon.
Bye. You can cut it off. I don't know how to do it.
I'll do it. Don't worry. Oh, there you go. God, you could literally talk to Sharon all day. She's amazing. All right, well, I'm going to run over this evening because I have somebody that I wanted to get on last week, and just with all the technological jiggery-pokery, I couldn't make it work. So if you bear with me one more time, I'm going to go to Skype. And let's see, can we get this man up? I hope he hasn't gone home. I might patent this dance, my Skype dance. Hello, Noelie.
How are you, Enda?
I'm good. 1 second, I want to get you on screen. Oh, where did you go? There you are. Mighty. Thanks for waiting.
No bother. Did you get it? No.
I had Sharon Shannon. You could chat to Sharon for hours. She's an absolute tonic. She's hilarious. So this is Noelie McDonnell, and for the We Banjo 3 fans, Noelie wrote Happiness. And that's how a lot of them might have been introduced to your music first off. And anybody that was at Milwaukee Irish Festival last year would have seen you singing with the Whileaways. Galway band, we're huge fans. And you had a really good, a great reception at Milwaukee last year. People loved the band.
Yeah, it was great. It was fantastic. We're there as part of the Galway 2020 kind of lineup. So we were there with our pals, Pádraig Stevens and Leo Moran, and Pierce Doherty was there. So half the Saw Doctors were there. It was a great crack.
It was great. So you're from Tuam, County Galway, which is about 7 miles from where I grew up originally in Corofin, and you never strayed. You're still living in Galway.
Yeah, and I'm now in Claren, which is a couple of miles outside Headford town, and not far from Tuam or from Corofin there at all. So it's still very much rooted in Galway. Yeah.
And very well known in your own right as a songwriter, and then of course the Whileaways have had great success, particularly here in Ireland. I know that your people absolutely love your albums, and the last couple of big concerts that you did in Galway have been sold out, and you've had really great reception. How's that been?
Well, it's the Whileaways is going great. People are really responding well to it, and it just seems to be building in a lovely way as we go around. So there's lovely venues all over Ireland, like art centres and places like that, and it just seems to be kind of building as we go around the place, and that's lovely. And we just keep writing songs and try to put out albums. And lately now we've been doing what you're doing there, this Facebook you know, we have to stay at home, so we've been doing these Facebook gigs on a Sunday evening, and they've been really lovely in their own way as well, because of all the interaction that we get from, not just from people in Ireland, but from all over the world, you know, like just joining us there on a Sunday evening. It's a lovely thing. So
I watched last Sunday, and it was fabulous. Yourself and Nicola, and then over to Noriana afterwards. But it was a great hour, like really, really good. Sound was fantastic, and great songs, like really entertaining. Loved it.
Great, thanks. I mean, the sound and the look of it and all that is just kind of a stroke of luck, really, because we have no special equipment around there. We're just using our phones, and we're just kind of trying to make the house look nice, and then trying to fit into the frame and all that. So, but once we're finished, we do sit here and we put on the telly. We put on Noriana and Avian there from their house, and it does sound great. And there's a lovely kind of feeling of there is a lovely feeling of being at a gig, you know, that I never really would have. I would never really thought that would have been possible before all this lockdown crack, where we kind of had to do it, you know. But there is a lovely gig kind of vibe of it.
Yeah. I never thought I'd be sitting here with 2 laptops and all sorts of paraphernalia talking to people on a Wednesday evening.
I know. Yeah, it's mad. I think people are going to learn a lot more about like technology, you know, than they have before. Certainly I am, anyway.
Yeah. So we were chatting during the week because as a songwriter, I guess, John Prine was a huge influence. And of course, as everybody knows, John Prine passed away last week. And Dave was on the show right at the very end and sang Angel from Montgomery. So you've been writing songs a long time. Has John Prine been a big influence for you?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think probably the biggest influence on my type of songwriting is John Prine. When I was a kid, my dad was a big fan of his and had been introduced to him by his friend Kevin Hanley, who arrived back Kevin used to travel around the place and teach in all these kind of international schools, and he arrived back to tune with a couple of John Prine albums under his arm in the 70s at some stage, and my dad was just hooked. So by the time I was kind of 10 or 11 and just starting to pick up the guitar and figure out a few chords, I had these John Prine songs just constantly. My dad had this tape that he just would play in the car everywhere we'd go, you know. So the songs were hugely influential, and there's something about his honesty and his humor, and also, you know, the simplicity of the way he picks the guitar and you know, he only ever uses 2 or 3 chords. When he talks about his own songwriting, he's always very kind of self-effacing in that way, and you know, he will introduce a song and say, you know, somebody showed me a new chord, so I wrote this song. You know, he never pretended to be technically brilliant, and so I was kind of attracted to that. Well, if you can learn 3 chords and you can say something kind of heartfelt and funny, then you've got a song, you know. Or it doesn't have to be funny, or it doesn't have to be heartfelt, or it's just, he made it seem so accessible. So it immediately, you know, at a young age, I kind of thought, well, I could have a crack at that, you know. So I did, and here I am many years later, and still kind of just mesmerized by his beautiful music, you know. His latest album that came out a year or so before he died, called The Tree of Forgiveness, just has 10 wonderful, amazing, you know, mesmerizing songs on it. And it's incredible that he managed to kind of do that consistently all through his career. And
Did you ever meet him?
Well, down the road here from me, where I live, myself and Nicola, is a place you know well, Enda, called Campbell's Tavern, and it's been a great hub of music in County Galway, in the west of Ireland, really, for many years. And I've been in and out of that place doing gigs for 20 years now or more. And Willie Campbell, who runs it, has just been very supportive of me as a songwriter and a musician. So I've opened up for John Martin in there one time. I've been at the Wailers, Bob Marley's band, played there way back when. I was introduced, I met, like, Shane McGowan was there one time doing a thing for TG Carr. And then all Mundy, Damien Dempsey, John Spillane, all through the years have all played there. And so it's just a great place for music. And one of my other great songwriting heroes, American songwriters, is Greg Brown, who's from Iowa. And Greg was coming to play in Paris, and the lads in Campbell's Tavern knew I was a big fan, and they managed somehow to get him to come and play in Campbell's Tavern, and I couldn't believe it. And so I was there to open up for him, and also his wife came along with him, and his wife just happened to be Irish Dement, who's an incredible country singer. And so next thing, we had a baby grand piano, and we had Greg Brown and Irish Dement, playing in this tiny little venue in the west of Ireland. And so I was opening up, and I played a bunch of my songs, 5 or 6 of my songs. And as I got to kind of the second or third song, I looked around the audience, and the only face I could see in the crowd was John Prine. And, I couldn't believe it. I didn't know he was coming to the gig or anything. I looked down, there he was. And like I said, I've been listening to him since I was a kid, been so influenced by him. And so much so, actually, that the song I was doing, I realised as I was kind of coming to the little bridge part I had in it, I thought, oh my God, I've stolen this line from John Prine, like directly. This is a John Prine moment, and here he is now. And it's only a tiny little part of the song. And actually, all it is O-Y-O. O-I-O, but I know where that O-I-O comes from, Anyway, I did the gig, and then Greg and Iris played, and during their set, I got a tap on the shoulder, and it was John Prine saying, is there any chance I could borrow your guitar to do a song with Irish Dement? That song is In Spite of Ourselves, which is one of his kind of famous ones that he does with Iris. And so I ended up in this situation where I was tuning up my guitar and handing it to John Prine, and he went on and played, and it was fantastic. And the next day, his tour manager, a lovely crazy American guy called Mitchell, a lovely guy, he handed me his mobile phone, and he said, there's somebody on the phone wants to say hello to you. And it was John, and he just wanted to say thanks a lot for letting me use your guitar, so that was my moment with John Prine, and it was wonderful. And he's going to be so missed. A lot of people rang me actually after the news came that he had passed away. Like my cousin Pierce, who I haven't seen him for a long time, he rang and he said, I just wanted to say I'm sorry that to hear about John Prine, and thanks for introducing me to his music. And I got all these messages from people. Just hugely fond of his stuff, and great to meet him that time. It was great. Yeah.
Do you want to sing us a song, Noelie?
Well, how about maybe I'll sing that song that I sang for John. Yeah. What about that one?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
So this is an old song of mine. It's called Steal a Rhythm, and it takes place partly out in Spittle, on Throssoley, on the beach there in Spittle. When we were kids, probably me and my little brother, he's younger than me by 2 years, probably drive out to Spittle with John Prine and the tape deck all the way. And when we get there, we had this little rubber dinghy, and we'd pump it up with a little foot pump. And we'd take off and hit the waves, and we'd be looking across the County Clare, and we'd be thinking, maybe we can reach that, maybe we can get over there. We never made it outside the bay. And the reason we never made it is because years later I wrote this song and I played it, and my father heard it, and he said, oh yeah, he said, geez, I remember that well. I remember going out to Spittle there, and I remember the rope as well. And I was like, what rope? He's like, I remember hanging on to that dinghy, he said, for hours on end, while yourself and your brother are out paddling as hard as you could trying to get over the Clare. So that's what this song is about. And the little bridge in it goes, oh, why, oh, and that's something that drifted into the song directly from John Prine. So this is called Steal a Rhythm. Thanks, Enda. Keep that chin up in the air, boy. You're gonna miss the world spinning round. Be careful with that stare, boy. Lord only knows the trouble that it found. Look at anything that's going next to nothing. Take anything that's free. When you show that there's nobody looking, steal a rhythm back for me. You've been dragging on your boots now, and you've been staring into space. Been afraid to take your trouble by the shoulder, looking in the face. There's this band sending shivers up my spine, mysterious and true. If I get my hands on that guitar, I'll steal a rhythm back for you. No. Oh, oh, you're my buddy, you're my brother, you're my confidant. And sometimes what we've got, what we think we need's not half of what we want. We are two boys in it, out in Spittle. We are masters of the sea. Oh, if you get a chance, put in your hand and steal rhythm back for me. Two boys in a dinghy out in Spittle. We are masters of the sea. Oh, if you get a chance, put in your hand and steal a rhythm back for me. Oh, if you get a chance, put in your hand and steal a rhythm back for me.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Noelie, thank you so much.
Thanks.
The Whileaways are on Facebook live on Sundays at what time?
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
GMT.
Irish. Yeah, so that's 3 o'clock. Yeah, 3 o'clock New York, 2 o'clock Chicago, and noon Pacific. So I'm all learned off.
Well done.
And you have 3 albums, and they're on whileawaysmusic.com. That's in our link at the top of the page as well. So hopefully people will go and download your albums because they're fabulous. Saltwater Kisses is a real favourite of mine. Absolutely love it. And And I can't wait to get out to Campbell's Tavern once all of this is over again for one of those Thursday night late night sessions.
I know, me too. Yeah. We'll see you there soon, hopefully.
Yeah, can't wait. Listen, thank you so much, Noelie. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Enda.
All right, we'll see you soon. See you when we're all back out in the world.
Lovely.
All right, beautiful. Thank you.
See you, man.
All right, folks. That's it. A little bit longer stint this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Tons and tons and tons of comments. I'm busy talking to everybody. I'd love an assistant that could feed me little pieces of paper and I could read out some of the comments as they come in. But I really, really enjoyed this evening, and huge thanks to Niamh Regan, to Jennie Morton, Sharon Shannon, who's an absolute legend, of course, and the wonderful, wonderful Noelie McDonnell of Whileaways. So go and check out all of those people, buy their albums. Everybody, all musicians need lots of support these days as they're all locked down and off the road for the next while. So thank you so much for tuning in. Fergal is up on Friday for more fiddling frolics. And we'll see you all next week. I have to go down and scamper, walk the dog and figure out who I'm going to get on next week. So thanks everybody for watching. Much, much appreciated.